Hello, everyone. Hope you're ready to talk some reality TV because this is your ticket to reality. I'm your host, Lee Swift, former contestant of season 2 and finalist of The Circle Netflix. And I'm joined by the amazing Emma and TJ. And we're going to talk a bunch about reality TV. First of all, how has it been for you guys? Have you had a nice week? Things been going good?
Very good for me, but very busy. It's I'm under a month away from my wedding now, and one of my closest friends, who is he's my best man, and I'm a groomsman in his wedding. He's getting married on this Saturday, and so prepping for that, getting ready. I'm a little behind on my Big Brother. I've only seen 2 episodes so far, but enough for us to dive into talking about it, and I'll do some catching up early next week.
Yeah, same here. It's been
awesome.
A busy week. My brother's coming into town today. We're going to see the Arsenal versus Everton game in Baltimore tomorrow. So I'm pretty excited. I also have not caught up completely on Big Brother, but I feel like I've watched enough, and I think we can get into it. So I'm excited.
Well, as your host, I am caught up. So I will drive the train for this episode a little bit. But the main thing I wanted to, since you guys aren't caught up, and we will be spoiling it from last night's episode, we got to meet everybody in the very first episode. We did our round robin picking teams, and that was pretty exciting. And our first impressions. Then they went in, and after the head of household was chosen, then we had where he had to choose 2 people, and he chose Michael and Terrence. And for various reasons, Michael was his target because Amara had come in and kind of said, "Hey, the guys just volunteered for just because the have-nots because they just wanted to skip being chosen." Which, duh. I know, TJ.
We talked about this on the Agents of Fandom podcast, and I realized, I better bring it up here, too, because this is the reality TV one. But sorry, I'm so terrible with names. It's Daniel, who's our head of household right now, right? And so when I saw this moment from Daniel, he just absolutely tumbled in my rankings because my thought process was like, what do you mean you didn't know? They were doing this for their game, and it also benefited you. If I'm in that position, it's yes, obviously, they're trying to throw me a bone here, help me out, and hope that I help them out in the future. And I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm not making any promises, but I'm going to keep that in mind because that was helpful. That was good gameplay. I don't understand how he went from this was so nice to, oh, this was so terrible, just on a heel turn. It mmade absolutely no sense. Yeah.
Duh! Yeah. When we talked about that on Agents of Fandom, I was like, because I still have him as my number 1. That may be changing, but I think you're right. It was kind of, why did you change your mind so quickly and were manipulated, basically? Because she was trying to protect the girls.
And it made me upset, too, because Amira was who I wanted, and Emma came in and just grabbed her from me.
See, I had a feeling about her. I just had my gut feeling.
Oh. Your gut feeling is right, because she's playing a wonderful game, I think. Then I don't know if you guys saw, we had the veto competition. And they were on little horses, and they had to get the little rings with the little floppy lance. And lo and behold, Michael ends up winning after all of that. And so he has the power of veto and takes himself off, saying, "You got to pick somebody else, Daniel." And Daniel ends up picking Taylor because primarily Paloma, kind of threw her under the bus. There was little talks happen, and then Taylor made an error. She went and talked to Monty, I believe it's Monty, and said, "Hey, Mara's coming after you." And so there was lots of talk going on, and so Taylor became the talk. I will tell you, I do have a little issue. I love Big Brother a lot, but I hate that it's very frequently on Big Brother, except for last season, which had the cookout and had 6 African Americans. The African Americans or people of color are the first two to be chosen.
Yeah.
And it bothered, I don't know how you guys feel about that. It always is, it's like we have these biases, everybody has them. And I just wonder in this contrived situation, if that is showing this internal bigotry, whatever, or is it just gameplay? I don't know. What do you think?
I think the subconscious biases definitely come into play, and when you get to you have to look at it, I think, from a production standpoint, is that when only such a small percentage of the crew are people of color, that those internal biases from the contestants, then even if it's subconsciously come into play, and they gravitate towards the people that they have things in common with and have gone through similar experiences them and think similarly to them. Whereas somebody coming from a totally different background and perspective, obviously will have gone through different experiences. So even if it's not a us versus them mindset consciously or subconsciously, I think those biases absolutely come into a play when the heavy majority is white people. And it's interesting, I think, as well with this episode I think when we see kind of like the influencer type on reality TV shows, I think it really goes one out of two ways every time. Like, it's never kind of that middle ground. It's either they have a big old target and people aren't sure about them, or they're beloved. And so Taylor, right from the get-go in this one, she was going to the boys, she was playing pool. And I thought like that first instance where she was chatting with them playing pool, that was all good. That felt like good strategic gameplay. But then she never went back to the girls. She never really checked back in to say what's up. If she would have, after that first time, came back in and be like, hey girls, guess what I heard? And just did like one little small snippet, she'd have been back in with both sides and in a great position. And I think you look at somebody who played that role perfectly was Chloe in season 2 of The Circle. And she used her popularity, her bubbly, charismatic personality to get everyone to love her. And she was nice to everyone. She wasn't doing any backstabbing. She was just maybe playing up the, I don't know what's going on stuff a little bit, but she was kind and she played it the right way. And I think, Taylor kind of went about that one in the wrong way. This one, she kind of let go from the beginning. I'm a beauty pageant queen, and I'm going to talk to all the boys and ignore all the girls. And I think that was a bit of a negative aspect as well. So I agree with you. The internal biases definitely come into play, and I also think this specific example, in a vacuum, the internal biases for sure come into play. And this specific example, there was a bit of an addition to it as well.
Yeah. And I agree. Yeah. I think it's a huge problem with The Bachelor as well. I mean, it's honestly been a running, not joke, but like a running theme is that the white people make it all the way. And if there's a person of color on, as a contestant, they usually get eliminated within the first few weeks, but they're kind of kept on by production to have that token person there. And it's like, so that's part of a lot of the racial issues with The Bachelor that have been called out recently. That's part of it. And it's a lot of getting people of color in the writer's room and the producer's room. I think that's like a huge part of it that needs to change. I think has been changing, but you definitely see those biases coming out. There's been many seasons of The Bachelor where I've seen some of the contestants, the white contestants, that will kind of gang up on some of the black contestants. And I never assume that it's intentional, but it's part of those biases that come out that it's portrayed that way. So you do really see that kind of come out. And I know that there's editing and production does things at the back end, but like, that's how it's portrayed to me. So I completely agree that there is an issue in reality TV with that.
Yeah, I think reality TV, while it is a contrived scenario, we bring our own selves in there. And even though this may be a heightened part of self, because you do know the cameras are on and everything, I think, I'll be honest, on my season, I gravitated to Courtney immediately. I was like, Courtney. And also Icar, or Bryant, he's now known as Icar, because he's an ally and he put the rainbow heart in there.
Yep.
So I was definitely felt, okay, this is welcoming. This is the people I want to immediately get to know.
Yeah.
And so, you gravitate to like-minded people. I don't know how you, and I do get concerned in the real world because for me, I look at your generation, the 20-somethings, and I'm so hopeful because I think they are, especially about gender issues and sexuality and even race. I always feel like, they're really going to take us far. But then I see, okay, primarily 20-somethings in the house, and it still kind of happens. So I know we still have a lot of work to do. Not to, we are talking about reality TV and having fun, but it just was something I wanted to take note of. We went on, so the veto, so he ended up picking Taylor and Terrence. And then we come on and we come to this episode, the eviction episode, the live eviction. And it was very tearful for me. I was struggling with Paloma, honestly, because she was playing so hard. And I was getting this picture of this person, who she is, based on everything I was seeing. I was thinking, man, she's playing hard. She's telling Taylor, I'm so sorry, and crying. And then behind her back, you're a beauty queen. And then they did sort of a package about her struggle. She wasn't sleeping. She only was sleeping a couple hours a night. She wasn't eating. She was crying a lot. Her mood was vacillating quite wildly. And she would lay on the couch. And then all the house guests, which I thought was the beauty of Big Brother, they all started gathering around her, trying to help her through this. And she said, I'm having horrible anxiety and my mental health. I'm struggling with my mental health. And then all of a sudden she pushes the button, walks into the diary room and falls apart. And then the next thing we know, Daniel's coming out because he's talked to production and says, Paloma's leaving us due to personal issues. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this with you guys for people that are thinking about, I want to get on a reality TV show. There is a huge stress on your mental health and your psychology. It was for me. And I have, just like anybody else, I have my struggles and those internal voices and things that, doubt and anxiety. And when you go into these things, cameras everywhere, lights everywhere, no friends or family, no confidants, no peers that you're used to getting that kind of boost when you're low or down, it can be terrible. Now they have a I'm sure Big Brother, I don't know, but I'm positive they do a psychological test for all these shows, make sure you're healthy, but you're put into a very contrived for television entertainment situation, and it can really break you if you're not careful. And while they do have staff, medical and psychologists, if you need some help, it can be very tough. So it's not for everybody. But what do you think about that? I mean, how do you think your mental health would be in a situation like Big Brother? You're in a house with 15 other people and 24/7 the cameras are on.
Yeah, I think you brought up a great Lee point about just like the stress of the specific situation and how it gets you there. And I think the toughest kind of thing to grasp for people who, and it makes sense for people who struggle with their mental health, but for people who don't, the toughest part to grasp is like when it's there and when those low periods are there, your brain's not functioning. Like you can't, it seems so easy when you're feeling strong, when you're feeling good, to just be like, oh, I'll do this, and this, and then it'll be okay. But when you're in that moment, you don't have the capacity to make those decisions. And me personally, so I have ADHD, anxiety, depression, and PTSD. And I really think the anxiety, depression stuff are all kind of, I think those are more symptomatic of the PTSD and ADHD than anything else. But for me, kind of how things have always worked is when things are going bad, when there's problems, and that's actually why something like Big Brother, I feel like maybe would be okay for me. When there are issues, I problem solve and I'm good. Life is like a puzzle and I want to lead. I want to be in charge. I want to help the team. I'll put the puzzles in place. I'll speak to the group. I'll do whatever I got to do. I want to solve the problems. I want to be there. When things are going good, that's when my brain starts going chaotically. And that was kind of part of where my PTSD is rooted in, is things are good. This crazy blow up just happened and I don't know where it came from. And now, my whole brain is in flux. And that's kind of how it is with real life now, is my brain will create the problems and create the anxieties when things are going well. And when things are going poorly, that they fall into place. And so we've talked about in the past how, like, TJ, you should go on the circle. I think you do pretty well with it. And in theory, I agree, but I would need that partner to kind of, that camaraderie to keep my head in place, because otherwise, the TJ you'd get on the circle wouldn't be the TJ that you're getting on the Tickets to Reality podcast. They'd be two different people. And I know me personally, there's times that, specifically whenever I've left my city, when going home at the end of the day is option, when I have the ability to get back to my 2 dogs and my cat and my bed and everything's all good at the end of the day, I can do a 12-hour work day and come back and everything's all good. But I've been trying to, whether it's been a work trip or a vacation as of late, it's been hell. I have that feeling in my chest and my stomach of, oh no, I forgot to do this really important thing. Oh no, I just let that person down. I was supposed to meet up with them and I forgot. And it just stays. It doesn't go away. It just sits in the chest. It sits in the stomach. And all of a sudden, my brain, it doesn't allow me to think of anything else other than these things. All I can think about is, well, this would get better if I was with my dogs or in my bed. And I can't work on my typical strategies because all of everything I have inside of me is just working on not having that panic attack. And so I think I'm incredibly impressed with Paloma, incredibly impressed with her strength, that she was able to put herself first in the face of people watching her and in the face of $750,000, a show she dreamed to get on. And she said, this go round wasn't for me, and I need to go take care of myself. And that is such an incredibly, incredibly difficult thing to do, because when you're in that mind state, you're not thinking properly, right? And so you're stuck on being circling around 750K. What are these people going to think of me? I worked so hard to get here, and now I'm just going to go home. And it's so tough to balance with that feeling of all I want to do is go home. And so I'm incredibly impressed with her strength to be able to do that. And I mean, I think this is going to be one of our heavier episodes on Ticket to Reality. And I think that's okay, because all we've been doing in the past is playing games, stuff like that. And this is a very important part of life and important aspect of reality TV that doesn't get talked about that often. And because we live in a world right now where technology has adapted in the last 30 years faster than it has in all of humankind put together. And the advancement of the internet has adapted faster than the human brain has had the ability to adapt. And so when we're stuck in this world of globalization and always seeing what's going around with other people all the time, constantly comparing ourselves to other people, even if not consciously, but subconsciously, as we see these things, our brains haven't had enough time to adapt to this stuff yet. And it's the reason why, even though quality of life in 2022 is probably higher than it ever has been in the history of humankind, mental health is a lot worse than it's ever been. And it's not just because we're talking about it more. That is a factor. We are more open about it, but it's because our brains haven't had the ability to adapt, and the chemistry is physically changing. And it causes these mental health problems. So kudos to Paloma, because that is not an easy situation to be in.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought this up, Lee. And thank you for sharing all of that, TJ, because I have generalized anxiety, depression, and OCD. And I kind of actually, now that you're kind of bringing up like Paloma going through this whole thing that she really wanted to do, she's potential to win all this money, and then admitting to herself and other people, like, this is not working out for my mental health. That's how I kind of feel about practice of law for me, because I went through 3 years of law school, spent so much money, time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears. And I tried practicing law, and it destroyed my mental health even further. So it's one of those things that I really had to sit with myself and be like, is this for me? Is it worth destroying my mental health for the perceived, like everyone's like, oh, well, you did all this to go to law school. And I'm like, I understand that. And it's a hard decision to make because of all the time and money I put into it. But it's one of those things that it was hard to admit to myself. But I was like, you know what? I know myself at this point. I'm going to be 29 in a few weeks. I was like, I know my triggers. I know that this isn't for me. So I also kudos to Paloma, because going on a reality show, I don't know how that would affect me. I think it also would have, I think I'm kind of like TJ too, where like, I think when there's things going on that I'm aware is going to probably affect my mental health, I kind of get into that problem solving. How am I going to preemptively set myself up for success? How do I use my coping skills? What can I do? So I kind of feel like I would get into that mode pretty easily, but it's when you're kind of just sitting there and my anxiety is telling me there's a danger when there's not actually a danger. I also feel like I would probably do well in the circle in some aspects, but I think for that show specifically, my indecisiveness would come out really heavily because, I'd be sitting there like, and that's one of the ways my OCD and anxiety manifests itself. And I would probably be sitting there like, should I send this message? Like, I would sit there for like an hour trying to formulate a message. And I think most people would do that to an extent, but it would be 10 times for me. I get frozen and indecision. So I think that I would probably have a hard time with that. So I think it's a really important conversation for reality TV, because not only you're completely the center of attention, like millions of people are watching you. You're having to deal with all these other dynamics of other people. You're thrown into a situation. And I can understand how somebody that is even mentally well before that gets thrown into a situation like that. And you don't know how your body, how your physical health, how your mental health is going to react. And I think, those signs of not sleeping, not eating, that's a really obviously that's a huge effect on our mental health. And I think a lot of people are surprised. And I would even argue that people that like us that have mental health issues beforehand might be a little bit better equipped to do something like this, where that this could affect your mental health, because it sometimes takes you by surprise. If you don't experience mental health issues, I mean, even if you do, but you might get yourself in a situation, you're like, oh, I don't know what's happening to me. I don't know why I can't sleep. I don't know why I can't eat. So I don't know Paloma's background, obviously, but I think that also brings up a point of like, you're thrown into this situation that you're completely cut off from your normal coping mechanisms, your normal environment, that it really would be, I could see where it would have a huge effect on someone's mental health. So I just think it's great that she admitted that to herself and did the right thing for her.
And kudos to you, Emma, for kind of going through that same process there. I know me personally, I'm a teacher, but I've been on a medical leave since January, specifically for my mental health.
Yeah.
And the reason was, it's not specifically that it was such a big struggle that I felt necessarily like I couldn't handle it, as much as I realized I kind of had to choose between two options if I was staying there. And that was being the teacher I wanted to be while I was in the classroom. And then when I got home, I had nothing left.
Yeah.
I had nothing for my fiance. I had nothing for my dogs. I didn't want to do anything around the house. I didn't want to cook, nothing. Or I was already starting to fall into that, a bit of a jaded teacher of screw everything and I don't care. And I don't want to be that teacher. And so that's kind of where I decided to take a step back this year. And it's unfortunate because I love the kids and I love teaching, and it wasn't them that was burning me out. It was the all the extra factors going on. But I think where we benefit as well with both law and education is there are so many different routes and avenues that even it's not necessarily an all or nothing. It can be adapt to what fits our lifestyle best. And I think another thing I want to touch on with Paloma is when you are struggling with anxiety, it often for many people enhances your sense of empathy, and not even always in a good way, sometimes to a fault. But I can really understand and feel how when she was playing the type of game that she was playing, where it was a very strategic gameplay, I'm on this side, I'm going to work to get these people evicted. And in the game of Big Brother, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a game, and that's strategic. It's part of it. You're trying to win the money. But I absolutely could understand how that could weigh on her if the anxiety was bad and the feeling of like, oh, I can't believe I said this. I wish I would have said this. And then again, you're going in those circles. That's the way I like to describe it. Because for me, it's that your thoughts aren't linear. You just kind of keep going back to the same circles and cycles, and you just can't get out of it. And so I can absolutely see how, if struggling with anxiety and feeling for those people that you're playing the game against, that could really make your struggle all the more difficult.
Yeah.
Well, kudos to both of you guys for sharing that. I will share one thing in particular for Big Brother, a similarity as far as reality TV. So when I was on The Circle and they were doing the questions, and when I made my blunder about, it was 100 problems, not 99 problems for JC.
99, not 100.
Yeah. Oh, did I say it backwards? See, I'm already messing up.
Yeah.
So that was, I have lots of good skills to help me with my mental health. Yeah. But it hit me. I was tired. Mm-hmm. It was late when we did that. Yeah. And all of a sudden I was having a panic attack. Mm-hmm. They don't show that on the show. And I told the producers, I have to go lay down right now. That's not good for TV. They're not going to show that. I went and laid down. I was sweating. I said, I need to see the medic because I was terrified. I was like, I'm going to leave. I'm done. I was out. So my point that I want to say about that, and it was fine. I need a little rest. They said, take a nap. Everything was good. Psychologist talked to me. My point is, these are real people. And while it is entertainment, and we can say, oh, I hate how they did this. Don't hate the player, because it is a contrived entertainment, fun thing. They're going to turn their edits are going to be, this is the villain, this is the hero. But understand, there's real people behind this with real emotions, real mental struggles. And so when we're saying it on the entertainment, on Ticket to Reality, we're saying it on the entertainment value. Oh, that was so dumb. But we do know that these are real people. And so just know that's what we're doing. And if you are having a mental health struggle or think you might need some help, please, we encourage you to reach out, because there's nothing to be ashamed about it. It's I think everybody has something that they have to deal with from time to time, and some days are better than other days. But definitely reach out, especially if you feel you're getting into that really dark hole. That's my 2 cents worth. Okay.
Yeah,
wow, Ticket to Reality got serious.
I know it got serious, but this is important. I think it's important to talk about this. And therapy's great. I'm open about it. I've been in therapy for years, and it's wonderful. And medication's great for some people too. Don't I know there's a stigma surrounding that, but do what you need to do. There's no problem with getting help for your mental health. It's very important. So I appreciate that you said that.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And the therapy thing is so huge, Emma, because it has such a stigma around it. And the thing I never, like the example I used to my mom was, my mom has never been to any type of counseling or therapy before. And she is mentally strong, emotionally strong, but just as any human being does, has certain things that she'd be able to very much benefit from by talking through with a professional. And I said to her, like, she had a lot of struggles with her teeth when she was younger. Okay. And she has a whole bunch of like bridges and crowns, and her teeth look absolutely beautiful now. Yeah. And she doesn't have the pain she used to have. And I said to her, like, what if you never went to the dentist? Like, what if you were just dealing with that your whole life? And what if you just said, nah, like, I'm too strong for the dentist, I don't need it. And so you were just living with that teeth pain forever. Therapy is no different. Like, we go to the dentist a couple times a year. We go, if you hurt your ankle, you go to physiotherapy. Therapy is no different. They're doctors for your brain. Exactly. And your brain is a muscle. Like, that's the thing people don't understand, is when somebody says, oh, you should maybe do some journaling. Well, they don't say do some journaling because it's just, hey, maybe if you write your thoughts down, it'll be good. They say do some journaling because when you're making the physical pen to paper with your hand, it doesn't have the same effect with typing. Putting the physical pen to paper with your hand and writing out your thoughts, it makes physical connections in your brain similar to how throwing a ball makes your arm better at throwing a ball. When you write with and work on things with your brain makes those connections and actually changes. It physically changes. And so it's so important to think of a therapist the same way as you would a doctor, a dentist, a physiotherapist, because that's what they're there for. They're there to help make sure your brain is functioning at highest possible capacity. You don't have to be at rock bottom to consider therapy. You can be running at 99% and think, I like to get back up to 100% today. I wonder how I can do that. And the medication thing, it's exactly the same page. What sucks about it is because it's a brain, it's not like you can be like, this is a broken arm, you need this medication, etc. It's tough to know what one will work for you. And so it's a process. I've been on 4 or 5 different medications, tried one for 6 months. It was horrible. Had to wean myself off of it. Tried another one for a couple days and I had a panic attack and I dumped the whole bottle down the toilet and flushed the toilet. I'm on my 4th different one now, and it finally works. I'm on a little cocktail of something for my PTSD and something for my ADHD, and the combo works very well for me. And it was a grind to get it there, but it works and it helps. And I think I'm thankful that with my mental health that I'm comfortable with talking about it. I wasn't initially, but I'm about 8-9 years now of therapy and different medications and working on it. And so I want to be able to talk about it because I want to help those who are in the position where they're not comfortable about it or don't know what it is yet. That's a big one too, is I think I've probably had PTSD and ADHD the majority of my life. And I didn't know about it until I was about 22 years old, 21 years old. And I was in a relationship that everything was going so well, I thought. And then all of a sudden it ended because of my jealousy and wanting and just like actions, personality traits that my mental health was leading me to because I wasn't acknowledging my mental health and I didn't know it was anxiety. I thought it was just real logical thinking. And that's been the biggest benefit for me, is being able to work on separating this is logic and this is what I would normally think. And this voice talking right now, that's anxiety. And it sucks and I have to deal with it and it's going to suck till it goes away. But at least I can work on not believing it until I can get to that spot, because that's the anxiety talking. This is my trauma that has affected me and I need to work on it so that it doesn't affect me this way. But until then, right now, I just got to take care of myself and be easy on myself and let it pass.
Well, Absolutely. Our love to Paloma and, and anybody and let's move back into reality TV. I think Big Brother is shaping up pretty well. On the people on your team, I wanted to know who's your favorite now. You got 4 people, so who is your favorite? Mine, honestly, I'll go first. Mine is actually Nicole. She has surpassed Daniel because I think she's playing a lot smarter game, kind of playing back, paying attention. One of the things she said in one of the things, she said, I really don't, this Taylor thing that everybody's talking about, that she said something that, Amara was gunning for Monty. She goes, I'm really wondering how much of that is true, but if the house wants it, we kind of have to appease the house because we're so early in the game. I thought that showed some very, very astute gameplay, in my opinion. So my favorite on my team right now is Nicole.
I like Nicole too. Can I say she's my favorite even if she's not on my team?
I love her.
I'm stealing Nicole. She's great. I
feel confident about my guy Michael. I wasn't worried when he got on the first set of eviction noms, and I felt good about it. I knew he was going to come through there, and I'm gonna ride my guy here.
If he hadn't won the veto, I think he would have been gone. If Paloma,
but I knew he was going to win. He knew. I knew. We all did.
Okay.
That's fair.
What about you, Emma?
It's tough. I think I need to get farther into the second episode, but just hearing Now I have to remember everyone on my team.
You have.
I mean, I still really
Brittany?
like Amira.
No, you have Amira.
Yeah, okay, Brittany.
Amira. Oh my god.
I do have Amira.
Amira's my favorite. On
Yeah,
your team
I'm still
too.
gonna
I have a crush on Amira. I think she's so smart.
that's fair.
I like her a lot.
I'm gonna go with Amira. Like I said, gut feeling. She's gonna be my number one.
Yeah, and now Garrett is down one. Which I'm. I hate that it happened, but it couldn't have happened to a better person.
And he's not even here to defend himself.
I know. I'm practicing my jewelry stuff. That's
exactly.
Do you see all the little bruises on my face?
I love it. I'm drawing out some examples just so we can get you guys.
Honestly, now that I was just thinking about it, and now that I was thinking about, I said I have a crush on Amira, and I was thinking of all the guests we've had on from the circle. And ones we're still going to have on the future. Lee, I don't think I can be present if we have an episode with Sammy.
That's a fair point.
Oh, you got a crush on Sammy.
I don't know if I don't know if I'll be able to contain myself.
She's wonderful.
I'll reach out. I need to reach out to her. She's a new mama, so I'm going to reach out to her.
Oh, that's right. I saw. Yeah, we should definitely have her. Yeah, honestly, she's great. Like,
oh my gosh, she's amazing. Amazing. So let's switch gears and go to the Bachelorette.
Yeah. So
TJ may kind of get quiet at this point. I don't know.
I was just going to say, keep rolling, y'all. I got it. My dogs are scratching. I'm going to check on them.
There you go. Perfect
keep
timing.
rolling. All right. Rachel and Gabby, what do you think? Two Bachelorettes.
It's so interesting. I love Gabby. I mean, I love both of them, but Gabby, she just seems like someone I would be friends with. Her humor is similar to mine. She is honest, and I love that. And so I'm not really sure how this is going to go with two Bachelorettes. It was kind of weird how the host was like, how's it going to go? I have no idea. I was kind of like, shouldn't you know? I feel like this should be planned out a little bit, but maybe that's part of the whole thing.
I think it is. I think Jesse Palmer as a host is fantastic. I love him.
Oh, he's great. He knows what he's doing. And the one thing I found funny, so of course you got all the guys that come in. I think I've mentioned this before with Big Brother, but I can never remember the names. Like it's going to take me about a few weeks to get the face to a name, unless they're like on get a lot of screen time. So I don't know any name at this point.
Well, that's okay.
But there was one.
That's okay.
Yeah. I figured most people probably don't, but there was one person that I found that looked exactly like Clayton from last season, who also looks like Jesse. And so I just see pictures of the three of them. I'm like, you're telling me this is not the same person. And I can't remember once I find his name, I'll let you know.
Is it Jordan?
I think it
or
might
is it
be
Zach? Might be Zach.
Ooh.
I don't know.
Okay, maybe.
I've got him up here on the screen. I was looking at all. See, I'm cheating.
No, that's fair because I probably should look him up too because I don't know who I'm talking about. But there was one person I was like,
What did you think of the entrance? Okay, here's the entrances that got me. I love the guy who came in on the forklift. I thought that's so smart.
That was great.
The shirtless guy.
I wasn't sold on that. It wouldn't impress me.
I got what he was trying to do.
Yeah.
The magician.
That was interesting.
My favorite entrance, though, I'll be honest, was the guy who brought the folding chairs, and because it was about the girls.
Yeah,
you're in high heels.
Yeah.
And, I'm going to put the folding chairs down. I know it's got to be hurting. I thought, man, you're smart. That's so smart.
Yeah. I would appreciate that. Like the other ones are just kind of like, oh, I'm going to impress you, but kind of make it about myself. That's really showing, obviously everyone makes a dramatic entrance, but to me that shows like, oh, he's thinking about the women and like, oh, they're probably really tired and they've been wearing heels all day. So let me get, a nice chair. I also am a sucker for the intros with like live animals. So the horse was pretty funny. And the little chicks was,
you like the chicks.
I think that was pretty funny.
Okay.
Yeah. The shirtless guy didn't really sell me.
I wasn't crazy on the chicks because I thought they're going to.
Oh, really?
Because they're going to poop in your hand.
That's fair. I think they were like, what do we even do with these? I've always wondered, what do they do with the animals after? I worry about that.
Well, surely because, all the productions have, PETA or some animal rights people there. So I'm sure they're fine and their life is going to be really good.
Absolutely.
I think the chick guy, wasn't that the video guy, Logan, who was with, he was one of the few that got to talk to both of them.
That's right.
What did you think of that?
Right.
I mean, here's my problem that I have with the two girls is, and I know it's going to get messy, is because they're going to, you know, they even showed it in the teaser package.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to reject your rose. And I'm like, oh man, I just don't know. It's kind of, but we love that part too, the pain.
I know.
I was like,
it's really, for TV, it's like really, ooh, this will be good TV. But I just worry that they're going to pit Gabby and Rachel against each other and like make them, I don't know. It's just going to be interesting. I kind of was thinking when they announced 2 bachelorettes, I was like, I feel like they're going to have to do this differently, but they just let all the guys, they're like, I guess it's a free for all. So
they could do 3 football teams. They got so many.
Yeah,
guys.
I know. I was like, geez, okay, I guess we're just seeing, because, you know, there's going to be a point where they both have a connection with the same guy, or the guy can't choose or something, or can't decide. So it will be interesting to see how that goes. I thought it was really funny when the twins came up. I was like, of course they're going to have identical twins. Like, but it was pretty funny how they just immediately were like, yeah, we're not feeling it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was probably like
because they got rid of 3, wasn't it? The magician and the twins.
Yeah. And I kind of like how they did that.
I do too. I thought that was very kind and considerate and everything. And right now I like the energy of all the guys. Yeah. They all seem pretty interesting to me.
Definitely.
There's no douchebags, you know, as far as I can tell right now.
Yeah.
I see here, we just talked about mental health. And let me tell you, I'm talking about it from the show point of view. They may be all wonderful people, but just from their
I'm sure they're all great people. The one red flag that pointed out to me, I don't know who it was because they didn't actually like pan over to the specific person, but someone called them females. And that's always like a red flag for me because it's usually a guy that's like, oh, these females. And it's like, oh, okay. So I don't know who that was, but
I don't remember that, but
that guy.
I didn't pick up on that, but yeah.
I
think it's going to be a fun season. I am excited to see. I always love the house. The house is amazing.
Oh, me too. It's beautiful. And I like to see where they travel.
Yeah. I mean, they're going to be doing some wonderful, fun things. But I really do hope, because the Bachelorette and the Bachelor, there have been some permanent things that have happened. So I'm always hopeful because I'm a sucker for love. I want forever, and I hope it happens for both of them. So
I hope they find. I know. It's great. And
he's deep into it. He's so deep into it right now.
Yeah, you're at the absolutely. And I just want someone to work out, because it seems like the last few seasons hasn't been the traditional they end up with the person that they were engaged to. So I just want the classic. I want them to both find somebody. I want it to last for a long time, and I just want them to be happy.
Yeah, me too. But I thought it kicked off with a bang. I really felt pretty good about it. And so, I know it's had its challenges, but hopefully, I think it is a staple in reality TV, and I hope they deliver in a very positive way. Too. That's what I hope. Are either one of you watching The Challenge with all the reality TV people from CBS shows, Love Island, Survivor, Big Brother, of course, The Amazing Race? Are you watching that one?
I haven't yet, but I'm definitely interested to check it out.
Yeah.
And I want to steal the mic quick. I didn't want to interrupt while we were still talking about the batch, but I lied. And I just want to, and based on what we were talking about, I wanted to bring it back. And the people who are listening with mental health struggles, you're not by yourself. I was feeling a little bit shaken after talking about all my stuff. Realized I hadn't taken one of my medications today, and I went and I took it, and now I'm back and I'm feeling better. So my dogs were fine. They didn't need to be checked on. I needed to be checked on.
That's okay,
and that's okay.
I'm glad you were honest about that, because it just goes into we need time for ourselves, and I think we should be open about that. So I appreciate you sharing that.
I really, really commend you, because that shame, you think you're over it. You don't have any shame about your mental health. And then one little thing and you're like, why did I just do that? And you question yourself. I think that's awesome. Real life, real time, everybody watching. Yeah. We all go through it. It's okay. It's all right. Thank you so much, TJ. That was amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely, of course.
Real-time examples. Not that I want things to happen, but it kind of exemplifies it.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that you shared that. So,
That's my challenge today.
There you go.
There you go. There you go. Well, on the challenge, I'll tell you, I watched the first episode, and I'm such a Big Brother fan. I mean, I love it so much, and there's people from the Cookout on there, and I'm rooting for them. I'm sorry, Love Island. I'm sorry, Amazing Race. Even Survivor, who I love Survivor, but I love the Cookout. I was such a fan of them. So
who are my Love Island people on there?
let me see. I've got the list here. Kira Green, Cashel Barnett. Who else? I'm looking at the list. I'm going down. Cinco Holland and Avani Vega. And Sully Vasquez.
Love Island is a show I need to watch.
Yeah. Oh, it's fun. It's fun because it's MTV, and it's cool that it's on CBS with all the CBS. I think it's fun. I know we're running out of time to talk about all this, but I do want to ask those of you that are, listening, watching, whatever. Let us know which reality shows you're watching and which ones you want us talking about, because let's make this a community. This isn't just us talking to you. Tell us what you want us to talk about. That's what I think.
Yeah,
what do you
think? I'm always down to watch a new show. Yeah. So bring on the suggestions, because I'm always needing new shows to watch, because I keep going back to the old ones that I love. So I want to watch Love Island. If we want to talk about that, if we want to talk about Love is Blind, I'm open.
I probably should have asked TJ, since he's AOF God. Can we do that?
Yeah, real allowed to do that.
I was thinking, did I overstep the line there? But I really want it to be a community, of people, because that's the thing I love about Agents of Fandom. You guys have built a community of people that get to talk and interact, and they interact with each other. And I'm hoping we can do the same here. That's what I'm hoping, anyway.
I agree. That's my favorite part of all this. Yeah. That's when we started Agents of Fandom. That was the goal. It very much heavily revolved at the beginning around Marvel and Star Wars, because that's where Garrett and Ruben's interest heavily lied. And as we tried to expand, bring in more writers, more content creators, the goal is we are content by fans for fans. We're just like everybody else who's watching this stuff, and we want to interact with it. We want friends to talk about it with, and so that's why we're doing this. And so it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's just so great, because my friends, in real life, they don't want to hear me talk on and on and on about fandom and reality. So it's just so nice to have such a great community of people to talk to. And I've just met it's just so interesting how the universe works, that it's just kind of brought us all here. And so I love building a community, and I want people to talk to us, and I want to chat with them. So
me too.
I'm down.
Two of my favorite Love Island people are both on from the same season. Are both on the challenge.
Sounds
so I'm definitely gonna have to check it out so I can see my girls Justine and Sally.
There you go.
That sounds like
it's a fun show. You'll love the first episode. It's really good. Well, I don't have anything else to say, though. I do want you to stay on, Emma, because I have a legal question for you.
I'm down. And speaking of legal, just a little disclaimer, we were talking about medication and stuff. Of course, always consult your doctor about things like that first. That's important. You don't want to just go and try different things without any professional consult. That's just my little disclaimer.
Glad you did it, because
I got a psych degree. I can tell people what to do.
Fair. We'll see which wins out.
I'm old. Old people
and
tell people
to be honest,
to do.
I don't. I just pulled a guy on Big Brother there, and I'm one class away from my psych degree. I don't have it yet, so I can't tell people what to do.
I still am. Did that get revealed later on? Because I haven't finished the second episode. Is he actually just in law school, or is he actually a lawyer? I'm still very confused about that.
Who was it that said it?
I think it was. Was it Michael?
It was Michael. He brought up about
or was it?
He said again later in the second episode, he was like, I didn't want to tell people I'm an attorney because that would put a target on my back, so I'm going with the escape room employee.
That's kind of cool. I actually like how he did that. But I think it was another...
Was it Joseph then? Was it
Joseph? I think it's Joseph.
But I thought he was already a defense attorney, but maybe not. Maybe he's in school.
That's Michael. I think Michael's a defense attorney.
Maybe he's kind of in Elle Woods level, where he's practicing as a defense attorney, but still in school, kind of that situation.
See, I'm going to figure this out, because it is a very specific and important distinction, and I'm going to get to the bottom of it.
She's on the case. She's on the case.
I'm on the case.
I love it. Well,
But I also
exactly. And
live
like we
your
just
life.
said, like we just said, also, like, we love interacting with people who, whether it's Agents of Fandom or Ticket to Reality, we want to talk to you guys about this. So follow Ticket to Reality on Instagram and Twitter. It's ticket2reality. You can find our videos anywhere on our Agents of Fandom YouTube page. And Ticket to Reality and Agents of Fandom both are available anywhere you get your podcasts.
Bye, guys. Bye.
This
It's
has
been
been great.
See you
fun.
later. Talk to you next week.
Yep.
Go, Michael, and I
Nicole.
don't remember who else I have.
Go,
Go, Michael.
Nicole.
Go Mira.